All right, it's that time again. This always ends up being one of the most popular videos on my channel. You guys seem to love these. So we are back with a what's in my cart video. This one in particular is going to be for the Together devotional kit and release from ByTheWell4God. This will be the series we're working through in the month of February 2025. So I have actually been working on this for a couple of days now. I've been pulling things together and putting my cart. I am really, really inspired for this one in particular, as I'll be doing a fun little journal this month. So lots and lots of goodies to go through. So let me go ahead, take you over to my desk, and we'll go through each section of this cart and show you what I've pulled from the release and from my stash to work through the Together devotional this month.
All right, so we've come over to my desk. I've pulled everything out of the top part of my cart. I will have a cart listed down below. That is a really great storage system that I have used almost the entire time I have been Bible journaling. So if you're looking for, maybe you're not in a position where you have an entire room or dedicated space to Bible journal, it is a great option for like organizing all of your supplies as you are using them, and then you can tote it around the house. Many times my husband's come home from work and he's like, what are you doing? And I'm in the living room on the couch with my cart working on stuff. So just a little plug for those carts. They come from a variety of different companies. I will just have one link down below, but they're pretty easy to find. But within the cart, I typically use smaller containers to then further organize the different supplies. And if this is the first time that you've watched one of these videos from me, what I will typically do is I have a cart dedicated to the different companies that I work for. That's just what works for me. Not everybody, has multiple kits that they're working through. You can put them all in one cart. But I try to pull things from my stash that coordinate with that study. That way I'm not having to, spend time rooting around all of my various things each time I go to create. And it's really good at making me intentional about using the products that I have. If it's in the cart, it's in my face. I try to stick things in there that maybe have been sitting in my office for a while untouched. And that way I am, trying to get it out there and get it used. We love to hoard, many of us hoard our art products and our crafty products. But that's not why we purchase them. We purchase them to be used. And so our goal should be to use it up to completion, right? And so that's kind of my goal. And my goal this year is to really be even more intentional about that. So what I have is this is not like a shopping list for you guys. It's not that you need to have everything that's in my cart to work through a devotional study. In fact, I pack this even fuller than I would for myself. I use this as inspiration for you guys to shop your stash. Now, occasionally I will pick up a couple of different things that I intentionally purchase to go along with a release. But I'm very, very mindful about what I bring into my space. And so when I get to the next level, when it's like stamps and dies and things like that, I am by no means going to use all the things that are in there. Again, it's just to kind of maybe jog your memory of maybe a piece that you have in your space, and to remind you to pull it out and utilize it. So with that note, most things will be linked down below if it's still available. But another thing about these videos is a lot of times I will share things that have been discontinued or sold out, and that's just the nature of this. These carts originally were for me, and then I was getting questions about what I had in my cart, and so I turned on the camera and let you guys see. So I'm not intentionally picking things that you guys can purchase or anything like that. This is just the cart. So the top of my cart is the most readily accessible part of the cart. So that is going to be primarily everything from the release. Again, we are looking at Together. Don't mind my cover. I apparently had chocolate on my on my desk after filming my unboxing yesterday. Got it on my cover, tried to clean it, ruined my cover. That's real life around here. So I try to have everything from the release that is new up on top. So I'm intentional about using the newest things. So I keep the newest set of stamps up on the top. That way I try to dive in and use those. and then we'll get into this box here. But I do have the verse cards. Now, I don't always put the verse cards in my cart. Often these get like gifted or, kind of set up in my space somewhere. But I'm thinking about utilizing a few of these in my projects. So maybe I should start with talking about what I'm going to be doing this month. If you missed my unboxing, I will be using the DIY acrylic cover kit. These are currently sold out, but they will be restocked. But you could do something similar, make a journal. So keep that in mind as you're thinking about the things that I've chosen for my cart. It is with the intention of creating in this. Now, there are a lot of things that you could put in your Bible or a mixed media journal or something like that, but that is kind of my thought process behind the things that I chose. So I put the verse cards in there. I don't typically like break up the set of verse cards, but I think this month what I'll do is I will utilize a few of the cards in this journal and incorporate them that way. And so, as I mentioned in my unboxing video, I am cutting my papers to, I believe I said 4 1/4, 4 1/2. I think it's 4 1/2 by 4 1/2. So it is slightly larger than these 4x4 journaling cards. So I will be cutting a variety of papers down to fit into this journal, and then I can mount the verse cards on to those papers and have them fit in here, or I can, attach them directly and just have them, kind of differing sizes. This is not going to be uniform. It's going to be all kinds of different bits and pieces. So all that to say, I do have the verse cards on top so that I can pull them out and utilize them this month as I'm working through that little journal. I always have like a little container of just randomness. This may be like, these are the backer cards from the flashcards. I have the little mini stamp from the freebie is in there. Some of the additional fabric that came in your freebie pack. This tends to be mostly like fibers and things like that. So I've got the bow clippies. I will probably be deconstructing these and using the fabric in other ways. I do have some mummy cloth from Tim Holtz, though you could substitute cheesecloth. I'm all about kind of vintage textures this month is what I'm going to be going for. So like laces. In fact, I didn't grab any of my lace ribbons, but I will be putting some lace ribbons and things like that. I picked up some of this from Hobby Lobby. It came in like a 2-pack. There was white and this cream colored kind of gauzy material. That is what I used on the bow here. I love just how like delicate and feminine that is. And so I will be incorporating that into some pages as well. And then I just have some leftover like cheesecloth and twine and, just various junk. It's kind of one of the junk drawers, I guess, in my cart, but that will kind of grow as the month goes along. I don't pre-select a bunch of like fabrics and stuff from my stash. I could, but sometimes I'll like tear fabrics and stick those in here as well. I have 2 separate containers for the die cut ephemeras. So this is the add-on pack, and then this is the pack that comes with the devotional kit. I'm going to be leaning more into like the florals and pinks and vintage. Not so much the little critters. The critters are super cute, but that's not really the direction that I'm going to go with this journal. I may include some of them, but I think I'll be leaning more into the florals. So I will likely vintage these up with some distress ink and things like that. So I've got those separated out. The doily that came as a texture, I've got that laid in there. And so again, just containers upon containers, right, is how I organize. I have one of the gathering boxes. They come in this color, but I have painted mine with the numbered, like I created little file folders for each day of the devotional. And then I went through and included the journaling, or not journaling, flashcards for each one of those days. So I've already gone ahead and separated those out. I do need to go through and put the journaling cards. However, for this project, I think that I will be working through the verse writing, I think is what I'm going to do. So I don't necessarily need it to have this set up, though I'll point out why I am. But I think I'll be focusing on these scriptures in this little journal. This is a freebie scripture writing that you can get from the By the Well for God shop. So definitely take advantage of that. If anything, just to store in your computer for a future year when you decide to do some scripture writing. Scripture is eternal, right? So there is that. But so, typically I'll go through and also pick out like the journaling cards, these ones here that come with the devotional kit. I'll put those in their corresponding days as well in this little folder system. However, I'm not going to be utilizing this so much for Bible journaling. So I didn't like put a ton in here. It was just the flashcards. So there is that. This little bowl has some little hardware pieces. I will go ahead and probably include some more like brads and eyelets and things like that as I go along. I have some library cards. These just always kind of live in my cart. And then some pre-cut label dies. Unfortunately, I think that this die set has been discontinued from Tim Holtz, so I will try to link some alternatives down below. So again, this is kind of a junk drawer that doesn't really ever change from month to month. But this organizer, this is from Target. It is fantastic. It's got 3 different compartments. You can see here, this is the 12 by 12 compartment in the back. This one here fits all of my like 6x8 stuff, and then my 3x4s will fit in here. So it's really, really nice and convenient. In the small section, I have, of course, the journaling cards from the release, paint swatches, the mini stickers, labels, all that goodness goes into that little slot there. In this slot, I have all of the like clear stickers. I've got my mini note folders. I will be trying to utilize those. And then I just have some random scraps. So I have some like dyed papers, a little book page from a past kit. Again, this will kind of grow and change as I add different things in. I have the dyeable muslin sheets. These always kind of live in my cart as well. I will be using these this month. I have some ideas for those. Just some scrap like cardstock, my paint swatch card. That's just, again, kind of junk drawer. One of the things I did pick up were a couple set of doilies. So I did go ahead and purchase some larger and smaller doilies. I knew that I wanted to kind of pair those up with the style of this kit. So you can see, $2, Hobby Lobby. So, not a huge expenditure. And these are something I go for white rather than colored because I can always color these with distressed spray stains, gelatos, watercolors, ink pads. I mean, there's a variety of different ways that you can color these, stamp on them, ink them up, all the things. So I go for white because then I can use these in the future. So it's not like I'm purchasing these just specifically for this kit. I'll be able to use them for other things as well. So that is one thing I try to think of when I do purchase things for a kit is, can I get more than just one kit use out of them? I pulled out some of these. I think that these came from a DIY kit a while back from ByTheWell4God, and I didn't use them. So these are craft tags from Ranger. I'll try to have these linked down below. I'm not entirely sure how I will include some tags in here just because of the orientation. I guess you could actually orientate it if you wanted to this way. So it flips up this way. So if you had rotated this, you could do that. I did it more kind of as a book orientation, but I don't know. I thought about maybe making these little pockets out of tags or something like that. I do have some patterned papers up here, a couple different things. So of course the pattern papers from this month's release. So that is those. Definitely want to use those. But I did also pull out, this is one of the classics, like vintage papers from ByTheWell4God, and it's just a whole bunch of vintage grungy like papers, and they do kind of have some in here that are pinky toned, and so I thought that they would go well, you can see, with that card there. So I pulled those out so I can use those. I did also pull out these worn wallpaper scraps from Tim Holtz. I think that there's maybe a couple sets in here. And so these are a bunch of like florals. The worn wallpaper has like a texture to it. It does also have some like floral pieces in here. But because, I'm going to be adding a ton of different papers and cards into that journal, I wanted a lot of variety. So I pulled these out. They had been in my stash for a while. Then I went through all of my backdrop papers from Tim Holtz. I have like 4 sets of backdrop papers, and rather than put all 4 sets in my cart, I went through and just kind of picked ones that I thought I would use. And this was, I thought, maybe a little less overwhelming than if I have to sift through all 4 volumes. I think there maybe even be like 5 or 6 volumes now. Each time I went to create, maybe this way I would actually use them. I'm really kind of a hoarder about these because some of them are just really fun. Like this one is very unique, pink map. I love this one and I just keep hoarding it. I'm like, why am I hoarding it when it will perfectly match the pinks here? And so I went through and tried to find ones that both the fronts and the backs would work. That way I didn't have to worry about covering anything. So like this one here had some pinks and blues, and then was neutral on the back, and then just some vintage papers. So these are similar to that paper pack from ByTheWell4God, but you can see the ByTheWell4God ones are just like plain textures. There aren't any like writing. There's a little bit of writing on there, but it's not a ton. It's more neutral. So this may work better for you and maybe easier to work with than these. But the Tim Holtz ones have, like ledger papers and, different things like that. So I just pulled a few of those, to try to be intentional about using some of that up. Of course I have the devotional. Oops, I messed that up. I was trying to rush. I was actually listening to the RFK confirmation hearing before I turned on the camera. So I'm like trying to get this done so I can go back to listening to that. So I've got the TNs. And so I have already gone ahead and started putting together my notes for the devotional. And so this is why I'm not going to be Bible journaling the devotional necessarily, because I will be going through and doing the study portion. And then this is kind of like a separate like creative project that I am doing. So like I mentioned in my unboxing, I am making these notes available to you guys for free. And so that link will be down below. It should already have the first 3 days of notes in there for you guys. I'm trying to get even more done before I leave for that retreat tomorrow. I'll be teaching in Texas this weekend. So I'm trying to get as much done ahead of time before I fly out tomorrow. But one thing you'll notice about these notes is they're a little more condensed. I think Tom did a really good job. Judy does a fantastic job too, but Judy and Tom both just have a different style of how they approach their devotionals, I feel like. And so there's a lot already kind of fleshed out in the devotional content. So I didn't feel like I needed to kind of reiterate that again in the notes if Tom had already covered it in the devotional. And I found last month with Judy's kit, she covered a lot, but then I also found other things that were outside of the theme, maybe, of the devotional kit that I included in the notes. But with the verses that so far in the first 3 days that Tom has picked, it's just like very specific, talking about what he's talking about in the devotional. So all that to say, they're a little bit shorter, but that leaves you some room to go ahead and do some of your own journaling here. He does have some really good, insightful reflection questions at the end of his devotional content. So you've got some room if you do utilize these notes to work out that directly here in the notes. Now, I don't know, I haven't done all 14 days, so some of the other days may fill the page, maybe a couple pages, but so far for the first 3 days, there is a little bit of space to create or journal or whatever you want to do. So these free printables are formatted to be printed and cut down and will fit in one of these standard traveler's notebooks. When you print them, it'll have the title already on there. I omitted the title when I printed mine so that I could use the title stickers. You could, of course, bring them into a photo program or, Adobe Acrobat if you have a PDF editor, and cover up the titles before you print them if you want to do that. I'm just at this time, it's already hours and hours and hours of work. I worked like 9 straight hours yesterday doing that unboxing and working on these first 3 days of notes. And so it would be additional time for me to offer them both, with and without the titles. So at this time, I'm just offering them with the titles, and you can adjust them for yourself if you want to use the title stickers. But so I've got those up there. let's see. And then I've just got, before we get to the stencils, just a pile of like the printables. This stuff just lives in my cart all the time. It's like some acetate, some mixed media paper, collage paper, some tracing paper, just random papers live in there as well. And then it's stencils. So I do try to go through and pull out some stencils ahead of time to coordinate with the release. I know some people prefer that I don't include other companies, but I use other companies when I create. So you can just omit what you don't want to pay attention to. But there is the new ones. So the 3 new ones from this month: Hearts and Roses, Garden of One, Together as One. So of course those are in there. I've included gauze because there are some like fabric textures in some of the elements. Lots of florals because that's the kind of the direction we're going for, very feminine, girly florals. So lilies of the field. Again, some of these are not going to be available any longer. True Vine, Country Lace. Some of these may be a repeat from last month, I think. Farmhouse Frise, I think. Autumn Sun, Beautiful Bows. This is an older one. Doily Cover, Floral Remembrance. Of course, I brought out this. Oh, I didn't name this one. I got to find the name of this one. I almost have all of my stencils named, but this was from that. I'm going to be terrible. Can't remember the name of it, but it was the devotional kit that had the lemons. This released during that release, I believe. So this goes along with the stamp set this month that has the banners. So I thought that would be a good one to use. This is an older stamp set. Looks like I don't have the name for this one either. It's stencil set. So you can see this is before they transition to this shape. So it has all of these hearts. Here is Lovely Lace, again, an older one. And then some Tim Holtz stencils. So there is floral and lace. So not too many. And again, I don't know, don't plan on using every single one of these. But I like to have them for adding, backgrounds. I've kind of moved away from using a ton of texture paste. I feel like the texture paste just doesn't hold up to the test of time very well. I don't know. The texture kind of bothers me of texture paste. So I don't know that I will be using that necessarily with these, but doing some other techniques. So let me go ahead and clean all of this off of my desk, and then we'll move on to the second tier of my cart. All right, so now we have the center section of my cart. And so this is mostly going to be stamps, dies, embossing folders, mediums that I use, and tools primarily live down there. So I have my box of distress inks. These are the mini ink cubes. I went ahead and just pulled out my set of browns because I'm going to be inking up all of the things, distressing all of the things. So I don't always include these in my cart, but I know that I will be using these quite a bit as I ink things up. So I've got those in there. A couple of mediums. These are kind of similar to last month. I'm going ahead and leaving the clear rock candy. I think that the link that I found for this is like a 2-pack. It comes with the mica flakes and the rock candy, which I think is a great deal. I wish I had the mica flakes, and I do not. And so this again is one of those things in my stash that doesn't get a lot of use, and so I want to kind of incorporate it a little bit. We still have frost here in Central California. Aiden had to de-ice his car for the first time this morning when he was driving. So we're kind of, looking towards spring with the colors in here, but we're still feeling cold. So I thought this would be a fun product to use. Frosted Crystal. I didn't use this at all last month when I had pulled it out, so I'm going to leave it in my cart and try to be intentional about using it again, or trying to use it this month. This is like an embossing powder that gives like a frosted look to products. I'm trying to think. No, I didn't use that. I used the glitter last month. So we'll try to incorporate this a little bit, maybe through the stencils. That might be a fun instead of using texture paste. Multimedia matte. This is a really great collage glue. You'll know I typically use my Barely Arts liquid glue, but for this journal, I'll be doing a lot of kind of like collaging of things. And so this is really good glue for that and kind of sealing things in. It's like Mod Podge, but better. So I've got that living in my cart. A couple of tools. I have my Crocodile corner rounder, so I can round some corners of things. And then this little guy. So this actually lives in one of my other kind of carts all the time, but I know I'm going to be using this a ton this month as I hole punch, right? Because I have to punch holes into these cards to get them to fit in this journal. And so this one in particular is definitely an investment, I will say, but it comes with 5 different sizes of holes all in one, which is really, really nice and convenient that it has that. So that will live in that section as well. I don't pull all of the mediums. So if you go over to ByTheWell4God's Instagram page, they do have a post on their page that shows all of the color matching of various different mediums that go along with the kit this month. They've got watercolors, gelatos, Neocolor 2s, distress products, chalk inks. I mean, so many different things that they've color matched. And so I used to pull all those out, but it's a lot of work and I don't use all of the mediums. So this month, again, kind of going with that theme of trying to use things I don't use, I picked up these new distress spritzes. I keep putting these in my cart and I still have not used them a ton. So I will say I have complete collection syndrome, and so it is hard for me. I only have the first set of these, and I'm really tempted to get the other 2 sets, but honestly, I have only used these like maybe 2 times. And so I'm just not reaching for them very much. And so what these are, it's like a colored liquid with a colored mica in it. The mica sprays are from Ranger are similar. They are a clear, no, I lied. They are a colored, I think they're a colored spray with just a silver mica, and these have a colored mica that go along with the color palette. So, you know, I don't know. I just don't use a lot of the mica sprays, and I don't spray a whole ton. I use them in different ways, but I have the first set, so I'm going to try to be intentional about using them. So I pulled out Walnut Stain, not because of the color Walnut Stain. I was actually looking at the color of the mica, and the color of the mica that's in here is very similar to the color of the binder rings. So I want to kind of incorporate some of that into some pieces. And then I went with Picked Raspberry for that really bright pink, and that's just out of the colors that I had, those were the ones that I pulled. There are a lot of colors in this release. You'll see that there's like greens and purples and mints and things like that. I am trying to lean more into the pinks, a little bit of the purples, and more of just the vintage tones. So that was kind of my thinking as I was pulling things. So I went ahead and pulled out the Distress Oxide sprays. These don't get enough love. I tend to reach for the Distress spray stains more than the oxide sprays, but I kind of thought maybe the softer look of these might be kind of fun to use. And again, it's a product that's in my stash that I don't use a ton. They're up on a shelf, so they're not like readily accessible to me, and I'm just not using them enough. So I pulled out kind of the pinks, lighter purples and things, and want to try to be intentional about using these. Glossy accents, if I want to add that to anything. And then I've pulled these out. These are, again, another item that I purchased and don't use a whole ton. And I found that if it's in my cart, I do tend to reach for it a couple times in the month. So these are the Foundry waxes. I grabbed the Statue and Mind. Statued, again, kind of goes along with those binder rings. And then Mind, I kind of liked the coppery tone rather than leaning towards a gold tone. And so these look them up online if you've never seen these used before. It's Foundry waxes from Tim Holtz. They're a little fussy to use. So would I purchase again? The effect is really, really, really beautiful. The effect is worth it. They're just a little fussy to use. So I don't know. Watch some videos and decide, if you think that they're worth purchasing. But so those are some mediums. Now I have, let's go through these first, and then I'll go through this package here. So I have not included Tim Holtz stamps in a while. I don't have a whole ton of them. With the Tim Holtz stamps, I'm very intentional about trying to find ones that I know that I will use again and again. I do use these a lot when I'm doing like cards, like when I'm doing cards for people, or wrapping paper. Like I only buy brown wrapping paper and then stamp on it. I don't buy like wrapping paper for each holiday. And so I will use these a lot when I do that. But there were a few in here that I hadn't used in a while that I thought would be good for like backgrounds and decorative things. I want to kind of play around with doing some mixed media pieces, and this particular journal will be perfect for that because I can create little cards and pages, and if I don't like them, I can throw it away. But if I like it, I can just insert it into the journal. So this is one of those projects where I get to have a little bit more freedom to play. So I pulled out a few different things. I have the tiny prints. These are 2 large floral printed backgrounds. The nice thing about these as opposed to clear stamp sets is these play really well with some of the techniques with like Neocolor 2 crayons. So stamping with Neocolor 2s, stamping with distress spray stains. The rubber just works a little bit better with some mixed media materials like that. And so, you know, I kind of want to lean in and play with some of that. So there is tiny prints. This is Vines and Roses. You'll notice this is similar to that stencil that I had pulled out. This is one that I had gotten a while back and haven't used yet. This is scroll work. I thought this might be really pretty decorative pieces to add in there. Because it's a postage stamp, right, as the cover, I thought I would pull out some postage themed things because it's not something that I use all the time. So this is Stamp Collector. This is a whole bunch of different postage stamps, rubber stamps, in different shapes. And the fun thing is, yes, they are stamped, you know, here in black, but I thought it'd be fun to stamp them in different colors and just kind of create my own little ephemera pieces that I can create collages and clusters with in my journal. And then Ledger Script. This is just a really good kind of background stamp for adding some texture. So those are the Tim Holtz stamps that I pulled. In here, this is a basket where I have, I tried to limit myself to what will fit in this basket. So dies, embossing folders, and stamps. So starting with die sets in the front here, I've got, again, a lot of these have been discontinued. This is Leaf Twigs. I thought that would be a fun layering element. This is Cutout Blossoms. So rather than actually cutting out like an ephemera piece, this cuts like a window into your paper. And so I thought with the journal, this might be fun to kind of play around. I want to play with layering like pattern papers behind solids or layering fabrics behind pattern papers. I really want to kind of lean into some different textures this month. And so I thought these would be fun. This is one that I picked up. This is Vault Picture Show. I have never used. This was really, really hot and popular when it released. So I picked it up and I just haven't used it. So I thought it might be fun to incorporate one of these little viewer windows, maybe with some colored acetates, you know, in a variety of different like pinks and purples, maybe stamp some letters in there, use the tile alphas to put some letters in there and spell something out, just as a fun kind of element in my journal. Again, this is another one of those window style ones. This is Mixed Media number 5. So this actually cuts a window out of the paper. So again, kind of leaning into layering different elements up. This is Modern Floristry. So different than the florals that are in the release. Let me grab one here. So a little bit different, but you know, depending on the colors that I use and things, I thought it might be kind of fun and whimsical in there. And it's another like, you know, die set that I don't use a ton. This is Postal. So this has some really fun little envelopes, but this also has these postage stamp dies, and many of these are sized to work with that postage stamp set. So there isn't an oval shaped one in here. Oh, I guess there is. I'm trying to think. Oh, it's this little guy. There isn't necessarily one that fits for that. But a lot of these postages will work with that. So I hate fussy cutting with every fiber of my being. And so I tend to not use stamp sets if I need to fussy cut them out. So I like that those go together. And then the little envelopes. I thought the envelopes might be fun to create some little interactive pieces in my journal. This is Specimen. So I love doing the technique of doing like a little see-through specimen card, the file folders if I want some additional file folders. There's these fun labels. So just some different elements that I can create. So my plan is to, when I get back from my trip, spend maybe a day just creating ephemera. So rather than trying to focus on individual pages, just take a day of like cutting out a variety of different things in a variety of different colors, inking some things up, and then just having them ready to go. And then I can assemble my pages. This is Collector. So I like this little coin pocket. It's got some little tickets and things in there. These little label tags. This is Crochet. This is a much loved die of mine. This one gets a lot of workout in my office. Must have, in my opinion. So I can, the way that this works is it doesn't fully cut out. So you can actually like cut this as an edge to something, and it doesn't like fully remove. I don't know how to explain that, but like the edges don't have cut on them. So you can like cut the edge off of a card and it'll stay like decorative like this, or you can cut it out of a paper and just cut the edges and have like a separate piece that you can attach to things. And it comes in 2 different sizes for each of the 2 designs. So it's just a really great workhorse die in my opinion. This one's been discontinued. This is Labels. This is what I have in my cart that I had pre-cut a bunch of these out of white mixed media paper. This does have some pieces that I have used in the past with that postage stamp die as well. So maybe this one, I don't know if that's going to be small enough, but it might work with the postage stamp die as well. And then this is Simple Plaid. There is that. So lots of dies. I'm going to try to be like, when I get home, clean up this desk, have my die cutting machine living on my desk so I actually use my dies. I need to figure something out. Having to go to the other side of my office, which seems so silly, such first world problems, to grab my die cutting machine and set it all up. It's just kind of a hassle. So I need to figure something out for that. Okay, textures. So these are kind of tricky to use if you're Bible journaling, because oftentimes I will like layer these behind things and they kind of get flattened out sometimes in my Bible. But in a journal, you can really go crazy with the textures, and I'm not having to be conscious about like, do I need to write on this? I can just have it as like a divider piece. So I get to just have a little bit more freedom and fun creating in that mixed media journal. So I've got Kaleidoscope. You can see that there. I was just trying to think of fun textures. So Intertwined, going along with that spring theme. Doily, this is a really pretty one. Woven, it's a good texture. Quilted, this is one of those 3D folders and it just has so much detail to it. This one here is Pink and Main Rose Garden. This is a just standard embossing folder. So it's just up and down. It's not 3-dimensional like the other ones are. This is a Lisa Horton Crafts Spring Bloom. I think I got this as like a freebie with something maybe. This one is very, very, very pretty. So I have seen Tiffany Solorio has done some really beautiful things with embossing folders like this, where she does like a really pretty intricate background. She embosses it and then she rubs like white pigment ink over the embossed area, and she's just done some really fun techniques. So I want to kind of play around maybe with some of those this month. This one here is a Chelsea, the Simon Says Stamp Chelsea Floral. So I don't know that I've even used that one. And then Simon Says Stamp Blossom Field. So lots of embossing this month. Okay, and then stamps, lots of stamps. So again, many of these have been discontinued. These are all By the Well for God, but I try to go through, especially when it's like holiday stuff, pull them out, so I'm intentional about using them. So Flowing Flowers, there was not a flower stamp released to go, let me just double check on that. Yeah, there wasn't a flower stamp released this month. So I tried to kind of go through my stash and find some that were similar to the florals in the kit. So Flowing Flowers, really great kind of border piece. And you'll see on the back, you know, it's colored one way, but I'm just going to lean into the color palette for this month. imperishable flowers, noteworthy florals. Again, you do not need all of these. I'm just including all of them, so maybe you have one of these in your stash that would work. Creation and Bloom, really love this. I kind of want to play around with stamping this and then create like fussy cutting it out and creating like a little tuck spot. I think that would be really pretty. Loved Floral. I love floral stamps for doing like tone on tone stamping in backgrounds and things like that. Okay, lots of heart things. So love hearts. Our first love. Love letters. This is similar to the stencil this month, kind of that similar look with the hearts. Scribble hearts. Some more florals. There's New Growth. Humble textures. This is a really good one for that lace texture that is in there. And then it's just got some good like label pieces. This is one, I don't know, I think this might still be in the shop. So definitely look into getting this one because this one makes quite a few appearances in my cart. Glorious Plaid. And then they did their own postage stamps. So there isn't a die, like these weren't created to fit with the die set from Ranger, of course, because it's like 2 different companies. But the fun thing about these postage stamps, so these were modeled after like real postage stamps that had been scanned in. But these they created and have, you know, a biblical theme to them. So the way, the truth, the life, John 14:6, sufficiency, only way to the Father. So, you know, if you're Bible journaling and things like that, this is going to be a really good set. Now that I'm thinking about it, I need to put my pinking shears into my cart because, like I said, I hate fussy cutting. So if I can just pinking shear, cut the edges to give it the look of that postage stamp, that's typically what I do with these. And so I thought these would be really pretty. Definitely you could color them in. I'm too fussy about that. I would just stamp it in like solid colors is probably how I'm going to use those. Graceful doilies, good for textures and backgrounds. Enveloped in love. So if you do not have a die cutting machine, dies are definitely an investment, especially these ones, this trio that has like this one here. I want to say these are like $25 or $30 for these because there's a ton of dies in here. So I would say worth the investment, but if that's out of your budget, if you don't have a die cutting machine, I love that By the Well did a series of different stamps like this. They had some that were like pockets and tags and library cards and different things that were these shapes that you could stamp and then cut out. So this one you would stamp and cut out and it creates a little envelope. It's got a little card that will fit in there. It's even got some faux wax seals. Again, going in with that postage stamp theme. So that's a good one for this month. DIY postage stamps. So this one's really fun because you can create your own. So if you have got, you know, some stamps, let me see for this month if there's any, like the little watch pieces that I was talking about in my unboxing, these would fit in there. Baptized into one body, that would fit in one of the stamps. I bet this one would fit into a stamp. So going through your stamp sets and finding all of these little mini pieces and then creating your own custom postage stamps would be really fun. And then of course you've got, you know, Take Heed, Dear Heart, just different little pieces that make stamps. So there's that. Pattern of Love, so X's and O's or X's and hearts. For little critters, I'm not going to be including a ton of the critters in my journal, but if you want to be playing with those, of course, there were a couple. There's the critter stamp that comes in the devotional kit, but there were some that I thought were similar styles that you might want to pull out. So these, this is obviously a much older stamp set. Devoted Chickadees has these fun little whimsical birds I thought were really cute. Love Your Neighbor 1 and Love Your Neighbor 2. So these are not the same illustrations as the little people in, let me find one of them. in here. So you can see they are different scale, but this is one of those stamp sets that you may not be using a ton of if you have, because it is a very stylistic, like illustration style, but it is similar to the illustrations in here, and the theme of it. Oh, there, look, there's a maple fir in there. Love your neighbor, right? That's kind of what we're talking about, in part of the theme of being together, in this devotional series. So love mercy, walk humbly, act justly, and then you've got the little kiddos, and then there are some fun little critters in here as well. Tree with the birds. So you can see kind of similar to what we're seeing in this month's release. So this is just a reminder to maybe pull this one out, give it some love if it's been in your stash a while. And then farmhouse tiles, I just thought would be a good for creating mixed media backgrounds and things like that. So there's a look at everything that is in the second tier of my cart. The final tier will go pretty quick. So let me go ahead, clean this up, and we'll get to that last little bit in my cart. Okay, so the bottom of my cart is also kind of a junk drawer. It doesn't change too much. So this is the same as last month. I still have the sermon series set down here. Now, I have not printed out the newest set of sermon series. I didn't quite have time last month. I'm trying to get into a new schedule, and it's taking me some time as I like reorganize my house and my life and get there. But I am still wanting to work through these. So these are free sermon series studies that Tom has made available over at the ByTheWell4God website. I want to say that there's maybe even like 15 or 16 of them now. And so these were notes that he put together for the sermons at his church. They are standalone, so you don't need to necessarily listen to the sermon to work through the study. However, I have found that many of the sermons are available at their church. If you look up their church, Lake Sawyer Church in Black Diamond, Washington. So if you look that up, you can find the sermons online. So if you were, looking for something like that, that is an option. I did a video several months ago showing how I put together this little booklet. This is actually using some of those, I think it was using some of these papers. It was using one of the paper packs from ByTheWell4God that had these like book covers scanned in. So I created this journal using some of those. I think this is actually a different paper pack now that I think about it, but I'll try to find it and link it down below. But I mixed in some of my own dyed papers and created this journal specifically dedicated to working through the sermon series. Obviously, I've not gotten very far. I've only done one so far. So it is living in my cart because I hope that I will have time. I'm finding that I have less and less time, especially as I'm doing the like study notes for the devotionals and all of that. But this is a goal, is to get into these if I have some extra time. So it lives in my cart. So I've got those sermon series. I will print out the ones that I don't have and add those in as well. I have my folder of dyed papers. As it starts to warm up here in California, I am going to do another batch of dyed papers. Like I could go through and use, some of the doilies that I dyed and colored. I do have some pink distress ink, so maybe I'll make some pink papers. So I just went through and grabbed some different like ledger papers and receipts and things like that and dyed them using distress inks. I have it as a shorts video, but I do have it on my list of to-dos to do like a full in-depth detailed video for you guys for that, because not everybody loves the shorts version. So I do need to kind of add in and create some more, and so that's in that folder. And then this little guy, this is my mixed media booklet where it has all of my Tim Holtz ephemera. This, I got this idea from Juicy Christians on Instagram. She took a mixed media booklet. This is one that you can find at Walmart. I believe they have a little bit different of a style now. I don't know, any mixed media booklet. And then you're going to use repositionable tape runner to adhere your ephemera pieces into here, and it just makes it easier to see everything. Now, I will say a little caveat. If you do not have a temperature controlled home, this may not be the option for you. So we do not have heating in my home, and we just barely got air conditioning for the first time last year. So we had very, very, very hot summers. It gets like 100 degrees in my house in the summer. And so I have found that did a number on the adhesive. So as I like flip through here, like I picked this up and found that one of them had fallen out. So it's got the adhesive on it. I don't know if you'll be able to see that, but it's like not sticky at all, and it's not sticking to the page. So in the winter, it's very, very damp in my house because we don't have central heating, and I know that affects it. So I can feel that the pages, they're not wet, but I think that's affecting the adhesive, and then the hot summers are affecting the adhesive. So all I have to say, if you do not have a well-controlled, temperature-controlled home, this may not be the best option for you because you are using repositionable adhesive, because the idea is that it would be easy to just pop these off and use them. But it also means that they very easily fall off and fall apart. Like especially over here, like this is my 49 and Market pieces, and they are just like falling apart and flopping everywhere. Like it's kind of a mess. But if you find that it works for you, it's great, because now I can see everything, go through, pick out, colors and things. I'm not having to like empty out, like these aren't even sticking anymore. My packages of them to see them, it's very easy to go through and pick out die cuts. So rather than, this is ridiculous, guys. Put those packets in my cart. I just put this whole thing in there, and then I can go through and pick out pieces as I put together my pages. So I will just put a link down to the Tim Holtz ephemera pieces over at scrapbook.com, and you can just go through and shop through if you want to pick up some, the ones that work for your project, your taste. 49 and Market also has some really great ephemera pieces as well. So there's a look at everything that is in my cart for the Together devotional series that I'll be working through this month. If you have any questions or comments, be sure to leave those down below. I'm not entirely sure what I'm going to do for process videos this month, whether I'm just going to do flip throughs once a week, or maybe some spotlight tutorials. If there's something specifically that you want to see, maybe leave that in the comments down below for me if you have a preference. I'm definitely not going to do like videos to putting together the whole journal, because I just know that that's not realistic for me and my timing. But maybe some individual pages, or maybe flip throughs with talking about the process might work for you guys as well. So let me know in the comments. Check out the description box. I'll try to link as much as I can. Give this video a thumbs up if you enjoy it, if it's inspiring, helpful. Subscribe to my channel if you're not already subscribed. And until next time, thank you so much. Bye-bye.